Hey guys, today I will show you guys a chess game that I play with 92 accuracy in this game. So let's switch to the game. So the game start with d4 and now I play knight f6, the Indian games, and knight f3 was played, and then g6, knight c3, and now bishop g7. Control the long diagonal on the hh a1, just like that. It's really strong bishop. And now he's playing a3. This move doesn't make sense in this game. This move does not do anything. I immediately go with d5, control the center of the board. So now my opponent go for bishop g5, pressuring my knight on the f6 square. I go for short castle, and now e3 was played for the bishop to be developed. So I play bishop f5, and this is an accurate mistake. Because immediately my opponent went for bishop d3, attack the bishop. Now if I take on d3 and then queen take d3, and the queen is developed, and that's the reason I don't want this queen to be developed. So I did not take on d3. Instead of that, I have to move e6 to play and defend. If you take e6 is really okay. If I take with the e pawn, and my pawn structure is really okay, it's not really bad. But actually, I don't know why in this game I did not see the move e6. And I think if the bishop moves to d7, it's a really bad bishop, and they actually can take the pawn and then knight take d5. If I go for e6, it's block my own pawn on e7. And if I went to ch, it's nothing. So that's right, that's the reason. So I went for queen d7, protect the bishop, and this is actually a mistake. And now my opponent have knight e5, counterplay on my move. And now I have to play queen e6 to protect my bishop. He castle. This is a mistake because in this situation they have the move bishop take f6. And if I take with the pawn, that's bishop take, queen take, and now they're gonna have knight take. Wait, oh, knight take d5 is actually really strong move if I take the knight, and then knight e7 is the 4. Wow, this is a really strong idea. And if I take with the pawn, what is the move? And this is knight d3. Actually, yes, because my pawn structure is really bad, my bishop is blocked by my own pawn, and this is terrible for black pieces. So luckily my opponent did not see the move bishop take f6. Instead of that, he went for short castle. So in this situation, I went for knight b to d7. I want to threat this strong knight on e5. Knight take d7, and now I supposed to take with my queen to play the move queen take d7, but instead of that I went for knight take d7. So okay, this is a mistake, but let me explain. Because in this situation, actually black have nothing, they have no idea to play in this situation. So I want to go with knight take d7 and then went for c5. But actually this is a mistake because of bishop take f5. Now if I take with my queen and then bishop take e7 and I'm down a pawn, that's the reason. So if I take with the pawn, and actually my pawn structure is really bad in this situation, like that. So this is a mistake, that I damaged my pawn structure. But my opponent did not take on f5. Instead of that, he went for knight b5, attack the weakness on c7. Now I have many moves to go. If I went with rook to c8, this is okay. If I went with rook a to c8, I lost a pawn on a7. That's the reason. If I went with my queen, and then the bishop is hanging. So it's not hanging, but if I take with the pawn, and this is damage my pawn structure, so I do not like that. So that's the reason. So now I took on d3. After queen take d3, and then I went for rook f to c8 to protect my pawn on c7, and also stay the rook on the a5 to protect the pawn on the a7 square. So bishop b4, attack my pawn on c7. This is my weakness, so I can push because of knight c7 attack. This is fork, right? So literally I cannot do anything about the pawn. I cannot ask more defender of the pawn, but I can wait for queen b6. So now I have two moves to consider about. The first move is queen c6, and the second move is queen b6. Why not queen c6? Queen c6, and I literally have nothing to play in this position. So as I said a few moves ago, I want to go knight d7 because I want to push c5, and that's the reason. So if queen c6 is blocked the pawn on b7, and I cannot go for c5 anymore. So that's the reason I play queen b6. And now I can suppose the pawn to go for c5. He plays c4. This is a mistake. So actually, I can play c5. Immediately go with my idea to counterplay in the center of the board. But actually, now I kick the knight with a6. This is a mistake, but it doesn't cost me too much in this game. The game just balanced, just like that. So knight c3, and now I took on c4. Queen takes c4, and now it's the time I went for c5. Counterplay in the center of the board, because now the queen is in the same column with the rook. That is not good for white to open up this area. So that's the reason. Knight d5 was played to attack my queen. I played queen e6 to pin the knight to the queen. That's the reason. So as in the game, I thought that queen b3 was a terrible move because then I have c4. But actually, he have queen take b7 and still protect the knight. I think that's b4. So okay, I'm attack the queen and I cut off the protection of the queen to the knight, and that this is a double attack. But actually, he can take the pawn on b7 and save both pieces. That's the reason. That's I did not solve the move c4. But actually, my opponent went for the blunder. C take d takes c5, and this allowed me to play rook takes c5, a double attack on the queen and the knight. So queen b3, and I took on d5, queen took, and I took with the rook on d5. He went for rook f to d1, offer a trade. If I accept the trade, and then his rook gonna get the open fight. That's the reason I go for knight b3, protect my rook. After bishop b7, c7, sorry. So his idea was to take the knight, right? Or if I protect the knight, if I run the knight and I lost the rook, that's the reason. But then I have to think that I can have opportunity to take rook on d1 and rook take d1 and I run the knight here. But actually, if I play this, my opponent gonna have the open fight, and I do not have a counterplay. So I went for rook b5. Actually, my opponents do have the open fight, but I counterplay on the pawn on b2. That's the reason. So he played for rook b1 to protect the pawn on b2. So he cannot push because my bishop is pinned the pawn to the rook. So that's why he have to play rook b1, protect the pawn. So now I actually can take with my bishop. So, but if I take with my bishop and the bishop is pinned to the rook, that is not good for me. And I play rook to c8, attack the bishop. Rook dh, rook take dh, bishop take dh, and now I push e6. And after b5, b3, and now it's don't attack on the b2 anymore. And I went for knight d5. I want to go with knight c3, attack the rook. And secondly, I want to close the open fight on the d5. Rook c1, and now I play knight c3. My knight is protected by my bishop, and also threatening to go for knight e2, a fork. Rook c2 to defense, I got rook d5, attack, and my opponent went for knight to e7, and then bishop e5. I tried to checkmate on the d1 square. This is checkmate, right? And he went for g3 to block the checkmate. King g7, and now bishop h4. And actually in this position, I was really scared for my opponent to play the move f4, because f4, if I play this move, then actually bishop take, I take, and then rook take knight. It's a draw, right? So, but actually I can have the move rook d1, and after this move, I got knight to d5. Sacrifice my bishop. If he take my bishop, I just take on e7, and this is equal. So that's the reason. So luckily, my opponent did not go for f4. Instead of that, he went for bishop b4, attack my knight. I went for knight e4, and after king g2, I offer the bishop trade with bishop d6. Bishop take d6, rook take d6, and he played h4. And now I went for rook d2. Fork him a trade. If he not trade, I just take on f2, and the game just over. He took my rook, I took back on d2, and now the game is easily a win. Now I play pawn take, and now I push a5. The reason is, and I push a5, if now I went for knight c3, and then the pawn gonna move to a5. So firstly, I block the pawn, and then knight c3 is winning a pawn on a4. And now I play knight b6, protect my pawn, and he played king c5, and now I play f5. Because if she take my pawn, I just push a4, and the game is over. So he went for ef5, and I by gf5, and now he played for king b5, threatening my pawn on a4. I just move a5, and I just put a4, and now if he take my knight, I just put the pawn, and if not, he cannot take my pawn either. So my winning idea is really easy. Just move my king here and clear the pawn and push it into the password and win the game. And at this situation, my opponent resigned because he knows that if he play, he just gonna be a loss. So just resign to don't waste time anymore. So if you like my videos, please follow my channel and share my videos, and I will teach you how to become 2000 rating on chess.com one day. And see you in the next video.